You're watching CS 105.1, where I talk about sports and movies with good vibes. And today, we're going to talk about movies. Let's get it. Hey everyone, let's talk sound quality. Imagine having pro-level audio that's easy to set up, flexible, and sounds incredible. That's the Røde Pod Mic USB. It's got both USB and XLR connections, so whether you're recording solo at home or in a full studio setup, you're covered. And get this, the built-in DSP effects let you adjust the sound with zero lag. You get that deep, smooth broadcast tone right out of the box. It's versatile, powerful, and basically makes your voice sound like pure gold. How's it going, everyone, and welcome. I'm CS Chandler, here for a take of movies this time. Told you I was coming, and now we're here. We're going to talk about movies today. The first thing is I actually did want to talk real quick about sports. Today was the opening day of the in-season tournament, and big win for the Golden State Warriors. I watched that game, and man, was that close. It was so close, and I was actually kind of rooting for the Mavs in this one just because I root for any team who it can help the Nuggets go up in the rankings. And if the Warriors were to have lost one, that would have helped out my Nuggets. So was hoping that they would win, but you know, I'm also a Curry fan, so, you know, good job, Warriors. And then also glad to see my Knicks won. They took on the Sixers in Philadelphia, and man, the Sixers tried to get away with a lot of dumb plays, especially Oubre trying to get an offensive foul on Towns, which never thought I would see the day when I'd be backing up Towns, but man, he kind of attacked him and then hit it, and they butted heads, and then because they butted heads, he jolted back not knowing that Embiid was behind him, and he took out both of them. Plus, I'm sure he got hurt as well. But then big thing here, too, about that is Embiid. I know this is his first game back, and he's gonna take some time to warm up and everything to the way things are playing and everything, but he actually hasn't really been hurt. I don't know what he's been doing other than just sulking and having a bad attitude, but so many people try to say that he's better than Jokic, and like if you watched last night's or tonight's game, I promise you, nothing about his performance tonight showed that he was better than Jokic. He only scored points because he went to the foul line. That was the only way he could score points. So I don't want to hear anything about him being better than Jokic anymore. Just stop it. You might have some kind of argument, or at least a better argument if you include Luka. Or even, I would honestly put Steph Curry up there. I don't think that AD is better than him. AD might be better in defense. 100%, I'll give that to AD. And he has scored some major points, but he's not better than Jokic. SGA is not better than Jokic. Jason Tatum's not better than Jokic. The only one that I could actually hear some kind of argument for is Luka. Only one. So, also there was a huge, Hardaway Jr. Tonight. I think it was the Pistons versus the Heat, and he got derailed hard. Hit in the head multiple times to the point where he was bleeding. I looked on it on Instagram, and I just saw the tagline of he got hit in the head and everything. Nothing warning you about blood. And so I swiped it over to watch the actual video, and it got me. I'm going to be honest. It got me a little queasy. Did not prepare for blood spurting out of his head. That was freaking wicked. That was gnarly. Warn someone before you just go out and post something like that. Damn. But I hope he's okay. Speaking of injuries too, I mean, the injury bug is plaguing the entire league right now. So I am not an OKC fan at all. I hope that they fail this season, but I will say, hearing about Chet Holmgren, who ever since he got into the league, I haven't been a fan of his. I don't really like him, but I do feel for him that he got hurt pretty bad and is out now for a couple weeks. Like, you never really want to see your opponents get hurt like that, because then it always brings the question of doubt of, like, could your team actually have won against them healthy? And so I hope that he bounces back, and the next time we face them, it's them healthy, so that when we win against a fully healthy OKC. I hope that we're fully healthy as well, so that we can, actually have that that answer of, can one beat the other while they're healthy? Obviously, they can beat us even when they're not healthy, because the first game, but that was when we were really not meshing well together. So I wouldn't really count that as like a true win. And then this last time that we beat them, you could say that, well, we weren't fully healthy for one. We didn't have AG or Jamal. And then they didn't have Eidenstein. So, it is what it is. But, hope that he gets better, and hope that the rest of the league, like, as soon as I commented on John Morant doing awesome John Morant things, he gets injured. So, John Morant needs to get healthy again. But I'm also kind of glad that he's sidelined a little bit, so that my Nuggets can get a couple more wins in, hopefully, when they go to Memphis soon here. They will, on Friday, they play the Pelicans, who aren't doing great, but have had a good enough history of being able to beat us. So hopefully the Nuggets win against them. And then we go back-to-back games against the Memphis Grizzlies there in Memphis. And so hopefully the Nuggets were able to pull some wins out of there. Two of those games, so the one against the Pelicans and one of the two games against Memphis are both in-season tournament games. So hopefully we win both. That would be awesome. Praying for that. So, hey everyone, if you're looking for a game-changing webcam that keeps up with every move, you've got to check out the Insta360 link. It's a 4K AI-powered webcam that auto-tracks so you're always in frame, even if you're moving around. Perfect for live streams, meetings, content creating, also podcasts. It adjusts to light, zooms in and out, and follows you naturally. This is hands-free, hassle-free, studio-quality production for anyone who wants professional visuals right from the desk. Insta360 Link is a total game changer. But let's talk about movies, y'all. Let's talk about movies and entertainment and everything. Haven't really got the chance to talk much about this. This is actually what I've gone to school for. This is what I've spent most of my life doing, is learning and doing the arts, especially film and television. By trade, I am a cinematographer and editor, so that is a huge part of my life. And wanted to dive in here. First off was mainly because I just finished the TV show The Penguin. And also today is the 12th, November 12th, which is, if you go back in time to November 12th, 1955, that was the date of the Enchantment Under the Sea dance that Martin McFly plays Johnny B. Good in. And I'm a huge Back to the Future fan, so I want to talk a little bit about Back to the Future. So first, let's talk about The Penguin. Penguins just came out. They just did the final, the season finale this last Sunday. And I have to tell y'all, it's not good. Like, if you haven't seen it yet, don't waste your time. I wouldn't recommend it at all. Like, you can do so many other things. Watch some more in-season tournament games or whatever. Like, don't waste your time with the series. I had a lot of hopes for this series, especially because the Batman was one of the best versions of Batman that we got, other than the only thing that kind of annoyed me about the film, actually two things real quick about that film that annoyed me a little bit, was just how slow Batman walks. He walks too much like Frankenstein. Was it Robert Pattinson playing Batman, right? He walks too much like Frankenstein in that movie, way too slow. But the fighting scenes are phenomenal. I love the overall feel and look of the film. The one thing I got kind of a little sick of is just how much it rains. Like, I know it's supposed to be a symbol of New York, but just the constant rain got too much. Like, needed to tone it down a little bit. Other than that, I love that film. And so I had a lot of high hopes, and I actually thought, Colin Farrell did an amazing job as Penguin. And so I was hoping that this series would also, live up to the amazing caliber that the film was at. And the pilot had a good start. It was actually awesome. I was really hopeful. So watching that first pilot episode and everything, I felt good. Like, it was intense. It had a lot of the same kind of feel as the film did, and great performances by most everyone in the film or in the episode. But then as you watch each episode, it starts to just go down a hill, like a slope or whatever. It slopes down. It kind of plummets a little bit. The writing, it just was super lazy. It was really lazy. And I've seen this very common nowadays within both film and television. Writing is getting so lazy. And I understand that they are trying to connect more with the audience and everything, but I feel like sometimes you don't need to put a lot of thought into the writing. You don't need to, have a reason for everything. Like, sometimes, films have plot holes. We love Back to the Future. Back to the Future has some plot holes in it. Whatever, we get over it. We go on, and we, there's a lot of things that we take in love for it, So the big thing, like Sophia Falcone, Christine Milioti, who played Sophia Falcone in the show, didn't do a good job. I think she did a much better job in Wolf of Wall Street and in comedy, in the comedy stuff that she's been in. How I Met Your Mother. She's the mother in that. She did a much better job in those things. In this, I didn't buy her as a mafia daughter. And I didn't buy her as a comic book figure. I didn't buy her as a threatening figure. Everything that she was saying was just delivered, and I could just tell that she was reading off dialogue. And so when that kind of things, those kind of things happen, as someone who has been in the industry, who's learned in the industry and everything, the two things come to mind is when I'm starting to focus now on what the dialogue is meaning, and I'm starting to pick things apart. One, the entire thing is not grabbing me enough. Like, the cinematography, I shouldn't be noticing the cinematography. I shouldn't be noticing the sound. I should just be focused strictly on the story. And when I'm not focused on the story, there is something wrong. The show has amazing cinematography, so there's nothing to complain there. Audio's great. It really comes down to the writing aspect and the acting, which could be one of three things. Either the writing is just bad, and everyone had to do with what they were given, the best with what they were given, or the actors didn't take the direction well enough, or the director didn't give the proper direction for it. So these three things are kind of the major reasons why something like this would happen. So, a lot of, and this actually happened throughout most of these episodes. The show just started to feel almost like it was on a stage, like there was a recorded reenactment of what the Penguin would be in a live action or whatever. There's a lot of overdone backstories. We don't need all of the constant backstories in TV shows and films. Like, cut it out. It just sometimes, like, when you overdo it that way, like, no one ever speaks in long monologues. Normal people don't do it. So if you're trying to be more realistic, stop with the long monologues. And for one, in comic book films, you don't really need long monologues. There are the comical long monologues of the villain towards the hero when they've captured the hero and they're prolonging their death or whatever. But there was just way too many. Like every time Sofia Falcone goes to try to kill someone in the show, she has a long monologue, some kind of story. And they might have tried to use that as like a character trait of her, but it just wasn't believable. It was actually really annoying. And then they tried to really connect you more with the Penguin. Let me just tell you, the Penguin is a villain. He has no motivation other than he is evil. Evil people do evil things. You don't really need a lot of motivation or for a reason trying to understand why someone did something bad. They do something bad. We need to focus more on the heroes and everything. And I think that they one of the major backstory things about the Penguin that they really tried to hammer, and they really tried to hammer you with it, is his mommy issues. In the comic books, he has never had mommy issues. The only other place that you could say that he had mommy issues was in the Tim Burton film, and that was more of like a left by parents because he was deformed and everything, and he wanted justification for his parents leaving him and the world hating him for his mutation. But other than that, he doesn't have mommy issues, and so them trying to add that on, it just overcomplicated things, and it just felt like it just didn't work. It was bad writing, and also to the fact that way too many villain characters right now are villains because of mommy issues. It's a cop-out. Joker has mommy issues. Like, why do we need these villains to have mommy issues? It's not always the answer. You could easily turn it to having daddy issues or whatever. Or how about no family issues at all, and they're just freaking evil for evil's sake, So the other thing is like, what I would rather see is them do a TV series about Harvey Dent becoming Two-Face. Now that is a lot more interesting because you have a hero becoming a villain, rather than trying to heroize a villain and make you have sympathy for them and everything, which is very difficult to do anyways. Like, we're not going to sympathize with people who are mass murderers and everything, or are burglars, or, whatever. Like, stop trying to engage the audience with that kind of character, rather than have a hero who has a tragic accident and then loses his mind because of it. That's more interesting. And it's also more interesting because Bruce also has sympathy for that character. He has zero sympathy for the Penguin. I guarantee you he has zero sympathy for the Penguin. Again, we are also talking fictional characters, but the fictional character has zero sympathy for the Penguin, for the Joker, for Croc, for Solomon Grundy. Like, he has zero sympathy for them. He doesn't want to kill, and that's definitely on one of his lists. He doesn't of things that he doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to kill them, but that doesn't mean that he has sympathy for them. He does have, however, sympathy for Two-Face / Harvey Dent and for Mr. Freeze. And Mr. Freeze was mainly because he just really wanted to save his wife, and so that he had some compassion for that. But a story about Harvey Dent, and you could even loop Penguin into that story, that would be fine. But that right there seems more compelling than the Penguin. I don't think we really needed this show. And I actually thought that before it even came out. I'm like, why are we going to do a TV show about the Penguin? Like, we don't need it. But a much like what I would really like to see is if they were to do a horror film, a Batman horror film with Solomon Grundy being the main villain. That would be awesome. I think if done right, that could be one of the best comic book films up to date, So maybe it'll take me to write it. I don't know, but that's one thing. And so we have bad writing there, but then let's shift over to some good writing, which is Back to the Future. As a cinematographer, photographer, and now a podcaster, I do believe lighting is everything. And if you're serious about creating dynamic content, you need to check out Nanlite. They're all about precision and control. Whether it's soft, natural lighting or vibrant colors, Nanlite gives you full flexibility to set the mood for any scene. From compact LEDs to powerful softboxes, Nanlite has light solutions that fit every setup. It's ideal for photographers, like myself, videographers, like myself, and creators who want to pro-grade quality right out on their fingertips. With Nanlite, you're lighting like a pro every time. And I know I already mentioned that Back to the Future has plot holes in it, but it does have a lot of good writing. It is actually one of the best examples for good writing within scholarly looking back at blockbuster films. So when you talk about Back to the Future, if you've seen the film, hope you have. If you haven't, definitely go out and see it. You won't regret it. It is one of the best films from the 80s that has sparked an entire generation of film goers and film lovers. This is one of the main reasons why I got into the film industry was this film. And so that's also another reason why I wanted to start it off, and I wanted to wait until today because it was meaningful for today and whatever. So when we look at the opening scene of Back to the Future, it is like amazing how well you have like 4 minutes of no dialogue. The only dialogue is like practical dialogue or the diegetic dialogue that was like within the scene itself of like the radio, the TV, like things kind of setting you up for the environment. And you get the camera coming in and you see all of the things within Doc Brown's lab or house or whatever, and you get to see the newspaper clippings and of that already kind of explain who he is and his backstory or whatever. You don't get any like actual like dialogue of like, oh, well, I used to be here from this school and I used to live here and my parents are like this. You don't get any of that from Doc Brown. You get it through visual aspects, which is the main key to film and that medium. It's always better to show what a character, who a character is, rather than tell us. That's one of my biggest things about these monologues that have gone rampant over TV and film. And so you get all of this nice backstory within the visual element of that opening scene. And then you get, you even get down to where, you see Einstein's food. So obviously we see that he has a dog, and then you see that the food tips over and it goes down to more food. So clearly they're not there right now. You also get a lot of visuals of these inventions. So clearly he is an inventor. You get what date it is. You get what time of the year it is. You get what happens in the news. They have lost plutonium. That is important. You get that from the news, not from some character saying that, And it comes back around later on when you have Marty meeting Doc Brown in the night scene at the mall. And so then you get Marty coming in, right? And he's, and so obviously, like the only kind of, I would say, question there is, how does Marty know Doc Brown? We never get that. What's the relationship? It is kind of questionable of, okay, how does this high school student know this this inventor, scientist, and how long have they known each other? We don't ever get any of that those answers to those questions, but we do know that they are friends, and he obviously stops by his place, and he's most likely interested in the inventions that Doc Brown has created, and he probably even teaches them a little bit of science. And then we get the phone call, and that they're talking. Oh, actually, no. Before that, we get Marty hooking up the amp. We know now that Marty is a musician, that he really likes rock. And he, sets the amp up to the highest point that it can, and then strums the guitar and gets blown back. And then we get that phone call saying, "Don't do that," after it's already been done. But you get that amazing dialogue from him, that awesome line that I usually try to quote as much as I can whenever something good's happening, is rock and roll. And he has the glasses that he puts down. So like all of that is just great storytelling right there. We got everything that we need to know within that small amount of time. And then we're moved into the him saying that I'm late for school. And then we get to see the town. No one tells us about the town or anything. We get that visually. And so he's skateboarding and he's holding on to the Jeep, right? And he's going around Hill Valley, and we get to see the what the people around there are doing and what the environment is like. And we go to the high school, and then we get him getting he meets up with Jennifer at first, so we know now he has a girlfriend, and then he gets a detention slip. And so he knows that we know now that he's kind of a troubled student. He gets a lot of detentions. Like he obviously knows Mr. Strickland very well on an unfortunate basis, and so they're not on good terms. And so he is trying to avoid him, but then obviously doesn't, and he gets a detention slip. And then we go and we see that he's trying out for the dance, the high school dance. His band is trying out, and they're trying to be the band that the high school hires for the dance. And we get the amazing cameo of Huey Lewis, who wrote the song, the main song that we heard as he's going through Hill Valley on the opening, "Power of Love." Huey Lewis in the news. And so he's the what would you call it, the teacher who is casting for or auditioning for the bands to play, and he gets up and it says, "You're just too darn loud," and so that it just kind of like a little like inside joke. If you know who that is, it's Huey Lewis, and he's a musician, and he's saying that the musicians are too loud who are playing his song that he created. So that's pretty cool. You also get in that same scene the second guitarist is the guitarist who taught Michael J. Fox the guitar for that scene. So that's and also for the ending scene with Johnny B. Good. So that's pretty awesome. And then you get the rejection that Marty has, and you start to get more character development there, right? Like he is broken, and after that, Jennifer's trying to encourage him, like, don't let that get you down, keep on and trying and everything, and he starts to become, I don't think I'm good enough. We now know that this is going to be a film trying to build up his confidence and what he's going to be doing to build up that confidence and to change his future, right? And then we get him having goals, because he sees the truck that he absolutely admires and wants. And he's like, someday I'm going to drive that truck. And so he does what he needs to do throughout the film so that he can get that truck. And he can also keep Jennifer and have basically his cake and eat it too. Again, this is Hollywood and fictional, and so there's always a happy ending for a lot of these older films. But he sees that, and then we get his home situation, and we get the first image of his home is a car being towed to the home that's all damaged. That's the one car that the family owns, and the car was going to be used by Marty for his date, and now he can't use it because it is totaled because of Biff. And we see that there is some relationship with Biff and his dad, George, because and they're obviously most likely co-workers. And so he loans the car to Biff. Biff goes out drinking and driving and wrecks it, and then blames George for it, right? But we also get to see how nerdy George is, and we get to see his mom, Lorraine, and the dynamic between those two, and how sometimes Lorraine is kind of regretful of where her life is in that moment, but that she really recalls an amazing time with the that dance, the Under the Sea, Enchantment Under the Sea dance. So we get a lot of character development just within that scene itself, and how George really likes the peanut brittle. Right, he's eating the peanut brittle and everything there, and then you also get to see his Marty's siblings, his brother, his older brother, and his I think older sister. Like I think he's the youngest one out of the three, and you get to see that the older brother has a job and he's late for the job, kind of similar to how Marty was late. So you kind of see that they're more or less a dysfunctional family, which is very common. And is what is very common bringing up in the 80s. It really started to come out with more dysfunctional families ever since really the film Kramer versus Kramer, which really brought out to light the divorce within families. A lot of cinema didn't really talk about divorce in cinema. And so when Kramer versus Kramer came out, it was earth-shattering to the rest of the industry, because finally we had a film that talked about the dirty aspect or the difficult aspects of relationships. Well, and also dirty because of the way that it's narrated. The narrative of it is right. Like we've always thought of this as a very negative term, but obviously, Kramer vs. Kramer shows sometimes why it's needed. And so we get this kind of dysfunctional family dynamic. And that's also something that Marty wants to change. He's not very happy with that. And so then we get a whole, like, even him watching the Jackie Gleason show, right, that when we'll see later on when Marty wakes up from getting hit by the car, and he goes down and has dinner with his grandparents, who are at that point, they don't know who he is, but him and Lorraine, and they're watching the Jackie Gleason show. And so there's so many repetitiveness within the entire film. And then you get Marty waking up late at night and to Doc Brown calling and asking if he fell asleep. He's like, no, I didn't fall asleep. And then he realizes that, he has to go and meet Doc Brown at the mall, and he needs to bring the VHS player. So they gets there, and you have this. This is where we first see Doc Brown, and the first time we see him is the gate of the truck or the U-Haul or whatever coming down, and you have all this smoke coming out. It's very what would you say, like kind of like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, or like spaceship, like or what's the Day that the Earth Stood Still, kind of, with that the gate of the ship going down and all that steam and fog coming out, and you get the DeLorean sliding down, and you get from there you see the door kind of pop up, like because it's a DeLorean. And they chose the DeLorean specifically for that fact that the doors go up rather than regular doors going out, and it gave it a little bit more of a spaceship vibe. A lot of the DeLorean itself has very spaceship-like vibes. The look of the aluminum kind of look of the body. And if you match it more with like the typical idea of a UFO, very aluminum-esque of that kind of steel or that gray, shiny grayness, and the fact that the doors go up rather than out, and even the body shape of it is more of like a UFO. And this is supposed to be now the time machine, which is also what Doc Brown alludes to, is he wanted to travel in style. And back then, the DeLorean was kind of like that style. Little beknownst to them that it was actually a horrible vehicle that like most people actually started to try to return, and there was a big recall with them and everything. But nevertheless, the vehicle itself was really cool looking. And the fact that also then he can control it with a remote control. So he doesn't want to be inside the vehicle because something bad could happen, and like he wants to be able to see rather than experience. And in that moment, he wants to test it out first, and so he has his dog test it out. And he makes his dog become the guinea pig, and he takes it out for a spin, and that's where we first get to see what he's actually up to. And the fact that he finally makes something that works, and we get to see that moment of him ecstatic, Doc Brown ecstatic for actually inventing something that works, and then we see Marty just kind of flabbergasted of what actually happened as he's like filming, and this is actually the scene where we get to learn that the plutonium was stolen by Doc Brown. And we even get the reason for how he did it. He took it to try to, and he tried to rip off some Libyans who needed it. And so the fact that he ripped them off, and then when the DeLorean comes back, and we get the explanations for what just happened with the time traveling and everything, and then the Libyans come in there, and that's what kind of drives the character of Marty to get into the vehicle and try to escape them. And when he escapes them, he actually goes back into time into 1955, which was the date that was created by Doc Brown, because he selected that date due to the fact that he was remembering when he created the flux capacitor, which is what made that time travel work. And so that's why he travels back in time. And the first thing that we go into is Mr. Peabody, the pine trees. And this is actually where the mall eventually becomes, and we see the name change from the beginning to the end, because at first it is the Twin Pines. But because in this scene, when he finally comes into Mr. Peabody's pine tree farm and he's leaving, he actually knocks down one of the trees. And so then at the end, it's called Lone Pine. So great stuff there, I could talk about this film for hours. It's like I said before, it's one of my favorites. And I've got luckily I've been very lucky to meet the cinematographer of that film, Dean Cundy, who gave me a lot of great advice as a cinematographer. And if you're also looking for camera work or wanting to do more cinematography work and everything as well, I'll give you the same advice that he gave to me, which was don't get bogged down with what camera you need to use or what lens you need to use. Focus more on light. The camera and the lens are just tools. They're just the brush that you need. You really need to focus on what kind of colors you want to create on the canvas that you're going to be painting. And then he also advised to take any and every job that comes to you, any opportunity that you get, whether it's pro bono or not, because you never know where it will lead to and what contacts it can give you. these are really great advice that I've taken ever since then, and is kind of fueling a lot of my work today. So, he did an amazing job with this film, and even down to, he did all 3 films. So for those that don't know, it is a trilogy, and it is the best trilogy, I would say. The only other trilogy that can be argued as good is the Lord of the Rings trilogy, in my opinion. And I don't count Indiana Jones as a trilogy because those are separate films, separate stories, I should say. But in terms of an actual coherent combined story arc, the Back to the Future trilogy and the Lord of the Rings trilogy are the best ones. Harry Potter is a saga. Star Wars is a saga, not a trilogy. Lord of the Rings, Back to the Future. So he shot all 3 films of Back to the Future, and you even go to the fact that they tried to elevate technology with the second film, and they did a Michael J. Fox playing his brother, his daughter, himself, and then his son, plus Marty watching those 3, or the family. And so they didn't really have the same kind of technology that we had today. They had to create that themselves. So there was a lot of different setups that they did. With the first film, you have a lot of dark lit scenes, and you have some daylight stuff, but a lot of it is actually at night. You get a lot of the nighttime stuff at the Twin Pines Mall / Lone Pine Mall. You get the nighttime stuff of the dance itself, and not one time do you see shadows that are unnatural to the surrounding, because Dean Cundey took that into account, and it's very natural lighting. Even down to when Marty first wakes up after getting hit by the car, is a little bit more darkly lit, because when you think about it, he got hit in the head, and so they don't want him to wake up to bright lights and everything, and they want it, to kind of gradually wake you up and everything. And then he's actually shocked that he has no pants on, which then also brings on another kind of questions too about Lorraine and her motivations in that film. But like even the daylight scenes, very soft lighting, which not very realistic, because if you were to do a lot of those same daylight scenes without the cinematic lighting, it would be dark shadows under here, because it'd be most likely around noon, and noon's the worst time to film. You get a lot of that top lighting from the sun, and it's very harsh. So you want to kind of soften it up a little bit more. So they probably use a lot of silks, big, like 12 by 12 or even bigger silks, to kind of try to soften up the sun. And then you have the scene with him riding on the kind of the reverse, right? So the opening, one of the opening scenes, when we get to first see all around Hill Valley, and he's riding on the back of the Jeep on his skateboard. Then we get to see that same thing happen in 1955 when he's riding on the back of the Ford, Biff's Ford. Actually, no, it was another truck that Biff's Ford was coming up towards him for. And he's riding once again around Hill Valley, around that downtown area. And we get to see more of it from that time period. And so Robert Zemeckis, he was very significant director in that the 80s, early 90s area, right? He had those 3 films, the 3 trilogy. He also did Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Forrest Gump, and then had kind of like a down lull period until he did Castaway in 2002. which I would argue is probably one of the last good films that he did. And he has a new film coming out with Tom Hanks that's like too focused on CGI and everything and AI and all that, and I don't really agree with it. It looks really fake and campy, but to look back at the older stuff that he did is just remarkable, and I definitely recommend you checking it out. And if you have seen it too, and just watch it again, because now is the time. Today is a good day to do it. And also in October, because there's also October 21st and there's October 22nd. A lot of different dates that are very significant within the Back to the Future realm, should I say. So that's all I got today for this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give it a like and subscribe. I definitely want to talk more about films. I'm going to bring on more guests, too, to talk about films. I have a lot more contacts within the film world than I do in the sports world. So a lot of the sports stuff is just me personally talking. I'm trying to get more guests on as that goes, but I do have a lot more guests lined up for the cinema talking and the entertainment and everything. So we'll get those people on board and have some more good conversations about the world of cinema and entertainment and everything. So please share the episode out to anyone that you think would benefit from it. And you've been listening to CS 105.1, where I talk about sports and movies with good vibes. I'll catch you later.